Laura, petite and sun-browned, golden blonde hair escaping in rebellious curls from beneath a battered leather campaign hat, was an engineer by trade and a bounty hunter by necessity. A short, charcoal gray riding jacket of heavy oilcloth hung open over a dove-gray leather corset, laced with spring steel boning thin enough to let her crawl inside a stride engine's belly when needed. Beneath it, a man's white cotton shirt was rolled to the elbows, sleeves secured by brass spring-garter bands that doubled as emergency tourniquets. Her split riding skirt of dark burgundy wool revealed high boots of russet leather, each fitted with a hidden gear pocket and a single nickel spur that chimed a soft, three-note warning when she walked. A wide bandolier crossed her chest, hung not with bullets but with tiny brass tools, coil springs, and a folded telescoping wrench. At her hip rode a custom Colt Babbage arithmetical revolver, its rosewood grips worn smooth from years of field-stripping engines under fire. A pair of smoked goggles rested pushed up on her forehead, lenses etched with faint calibration lines, and around her slender neck hung a magnifier loop on a black ribbon, the hallmark of a woman who could rebuild a difference engine blindfold. Kim, by contrast, stood a full head taller, willowy and sharp-shouldered, her pale blonde hair swept into a loose chignon, secured by a single clock-hand hairpin that could pick any Confederate cipher lock in under 30 seconds. She wore the attire of a professional gambler who refused to be mistaken for a dance hall girl. A tailored black frock coat with subtle emerald silk lining that flashed only when she reached for cards, its high collar framing a snow-white cravat pinned by a tiny brass gear brooch, the discreet symbol of the Ada Lovelace Society. Beneath the coat, a scarlet waistcoat of watered silk was laced tight with black cord, every button a polished analytical engine flywheel. Her split skirt was midnight wool, with hidden pockets for marked decks, and a two-shot spring derringer strapped high on one thigh. Polished black riding boots rose to the knee, the left one fitted with a concealed blade that flicked out with a twist of the heel. A narrow leather belt carried a pouch of black tape playing cards and a pocket chronometer, whose second hand ticked in perfect 4/4 time for counting shuffles. When she smiled, the gaslights caught the faint glint of a monocle on a chain, an affectation that let her read tells across a smoky table without ever seeming to stare. Together, Laura and Kim made quite the team. Their complementary skills allowed them to easily navigate the treacherous terrain of the brass frontier, always one step ahead of their enemies. They traveled together in a converted steam wagon that Laura had named the Cogs of Conquest, its riveted boilerplates now painted midnight blue with scarlet pinstriping, a brass nameplate gleaming above the pilot lamps like a dare to the sky itself. One fateful day, the duo found themselves caught up in a conflict between two powerful factions: the Union Pacific Computing Directorate and the Confederate Bureau of Ordnance and Calculation. Both groups were vying for control over a recently discovered cache of rare clockwork components that would enable them to create an unstoppable army of mechanical warriors. Laura and Kim quickly realized that they had stumbled upon something far bigger than themselves and decided to take matters into their own hands. They set out to locate the hidden stash before either faction could get their hands on it, hoping that they might be able to use the components to create a new weapon capable of bringing peace to the brass frontier once and for all. As they delved deeper into the mystery surrounding the missing components, Laura and Kim discovered that there was far more at stake than just a few precious pieces of machinery. It seemed that someone had been tampering with the records kept by both factions, manipulating the data in such a way as to create an illusion of peace between them. In reality, these two groups were on the verge of all-out war, a conflict that could very well tear the brass frontier apart at its seams. Determined to uncover the truth behind this deception, Laura and Kim began investigating the people closest to the missing components. A group of reclusive clockwork engineers who lived deep within the heart of the frontier. These eccentric inventors had dedicated their lives to the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. but they also held secrets that could change the course of history itself. As the duo ventured further into the engineer's hidden stronghold, they found themselves caught in a web of lies and deceit. They were pursued by relentless assassins who seemed intent on silencing them forever, and faced off against powerful machines designed to protect the engineer's most closely guarded secrets. Despite the mounting danger, Laura and Kim refused to back down. They knew that they had come too far to give up now, and that the fate of the brass frontier hung in the balance. With courage in their hearts and determination in their souls, they pressed onward, determined to uncover the truth no matter what obstacles stood in their way. As they delved deeper into the engineer's stronghold, Laura and Kim stumbled upon an astonishing revelation. The missing clockwork components were not just precious pieces of machinery. They were actually key components of a long-lost prototype for a revolutionary new weapon. This weapon, known only as the Cogs of Conquest, had been designed to harness the power of mechanical devices and use it against their human creators. However, the engineers who had created this fearsome machine had also built in fail-safes that would prevent it from being used for evil purposes. They believed that such a weapon should only be wielded by those who possessed both the intelligence and the moral compass to use it responsibly. Unfortunately, their attempts at controlling the weapon had been thwarted when someone managed to hack into the system and rewrite the code governing its operation. Now, with the Cogs of Conquest back in the hands of those who sought to wield it for nefarious purposes, Laura and Kim knew that they had little time left before this terrifying machine was unleashed upon an unsuspecting world. They also realized that if they were going to stop its creators from carrying out their plans, they would need to use every ounce of skill, cunning, and bravery at their disposal. As they raced against the clock to prevent a global catastrophe, Laura and Kim found themselves facing off against some of the most fearsome opponents they had ever encountered. They battled through treacherous terrain, outwitted ruthless assassins, and even went toe-to-toe with the Cogs of Conquest itself, an encounter that tested their limits like never before. The sun bled molten copper across the western sky as the last assassin's body tumbled from the catwalk of the engineers, strung hold, brass gears spilling from his ruptured chest like golden entrails. Laura snapped her loop back into place, wiped a streak of hydraulic fluid from her cheek, and looked up at the colossal silhouette now rising from the canyon floor. 100 feet tall, half cathedral, half war engine, its 4 articulated legs unfolded with the shriek of mainsprings the size of locomotives. The Cogs of Conquest, no longer a wagon, no longer a dream, stood revealed in all its terrible glory, its cathedral nave torso glowing with the light of 1,000 furnace eyes. Kim flicked her bent gear brush straight, spun the chamber of her spring derringer, and let out a low, delighted laugh. "Well," she said, emerald silk flashing as she vaulted onto the lowest rung of the Titan's access ladder. "Looks like we just inherited the biggest damn poker pot in frontier history." Laura was already climbing after her, boots ringing against duralumin rungs, voice bright with reckless fire. "Then let's take it for a ride before the Octagon and the Confederacy figure out who really owns the sky." Far below, the twin searchlight beams of Union Pacific gun cutters and Confederate ironclad rams swept the canyon mouth, converging on the awakening Colossus. Kim reached the pilot gantry first, slapped a fresh spool of black tape into the master difference engine, and threw the lever that lit every gear along the monster's spine in cascading green fire. Engines howled. Steam screamed. The earth trembled. Laura leaned out into the updraft, hair whipping like a battle standard, and shouted over the roar. "Next corner just got a lot bigger. Partner, hold tight." The Cogs of Conquest took its first earth-shaking step toward the open sky, and the brass frontier itself seemed to lean forward to watch what 2 women and 1 impossible machine would dare to do next. Engines red hot, guns primed, horizon burning. The real adventure was just beginning.